No, no, I was just saying excuse me because I coughed.
Oh. Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host talking with famous people. I'm recording a video on my phone here. I'm talking with John, St. Louis John, and we're talking about cognitive functions. He was explaining his notion of a simple, a simple, straightforward approach to understanding cognitive functions that he highlighted some things about intuition that I'm responding to first. That my first response to that is he's pointing out that introverted intuition focuses on what is, and that extroverted intuition focuses on projections. And my response to that was, well, I think introverted intuition focuses on what is, and extroverted intuition focuses on what is not. When combined with TI, that's exactly the same thing as what might be, because what is not is simply the alternative conditionality consequence for TI. That is to say, the things that follow the if part. Like if X, then Y. X is called the antecedent, Y is called the consequent. So if you have conditional equations like that, then you can talk about them like that. Anyway, the point is, what is the point? Oh yeah, extroverted intuition being what is not with TI means necessarily all the possible alternatives to the existing consequent of a conditional given a certain antecedent, because conditionality excludes actual time from the equation. It says, oh, time's not linear. Time doesn't go once and happen and then you can't go back. We can try it the other way. Um, so that's one thing I wanted to respond to, John. It was about the intuition. Now, regarding the thing about the introversion extroversion, my approach towards understanding the extroverted functions is that we really are looking at functions of interface that are like computer interface functions. You've got put, get, receive. Those are all for your interface functions, which are TE and FE. Okay, they interface with the world. TE and FE interface with the world, and they use put, get, and receive as their functionalities. The action
Right.
functions, which are NE and SE, those are create, which is not really a normal. It's not like a computer function exactly, but and then the SE, it would be sort of render into unchangeable form. It's like rendering. So
But
um,
but why do we call them? Why would you call them action functions though? Because
because they,
couldn't
I'll tell you. Let me. Okay,
couldn't
go ahead.
okay
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go. You go.
couldn't any just as easily be like for me when I think of any, a lot of times I'll see something in the moment, which is SI, right? And then bam, a bunch of ideas, and possibilities come up, maybe 5 or 10 all at once. But it's not necessarily an action function.
But you just took action. That's the thing. Before you evaluated what you saw as being what is, in other words, before you knew what was either objectively or subjectively, that would be
Mhm.
NI or SI, before you um, before you engaged socially with it, or before you engaged on an efficiency physical level with it, FE or TE, before you interfaced with it, the first thing you did was take action. You came up with possible ideas before you did anything else. That's action. The thing is,
Okay.
you might appear to take action with your interface functions as well. If I put information, I might say to you, "Hello, my name is Eric. How are you?" No, not the "how are you" part. "Hello, my name is Eric." If I want to get information, I might say, "What's your name?" If I want to receive
Hmm.
information, I might just stand there and wait for you to come talk to me or hear what you're saying and not give you any really direct feedback, or just do a little bit of like nod my head kind of shit, you know? So that put,
Okay.
get, receive stuff happens with TE and with FE. FE is about interacting with other people, and TE is about interacting with systems in the world in that fashion. Put, get, receive systems in the
Well,
world.
ICT also is interacting with people too. It could be like, the ESTJ running a board meeting,
That's
where they're
systems in
trying
the
to figure
world.
out policy.
That is systems in the world, okay? What they're doing
Right.
there is treating the people in that circumstance as force vectors in their unlike, they're not building a model, they're building a working thing. Like they're making the actual thing. So it's like it doesn't matter to them if the details, provided the board meeting accomplishes what it needs to accomplish. And so there might be a lot of people who go, I hate that guy. He's such an asshole or whatever about the boss, and he doesn't give a fuck as long as the company's making good money and his company policies are working. If it starts to become a problem for him, then it becomes a problem for that reason. And it's like, that's TE treating the people as part of a systems thing, and being particularist in if making that efficient may involve utilizing FE techniques or FE resources, but you probably won't be originating them yourself if you're a strong TE user. You'll probably be delegating that to somebody else. So the thing is, FE then interfaces in the opposite way. It doesn't look to make sure that the occasion is efficient. It looks to make sure that the occasion is effective at everybody's social positioning shit, and also everybody's actual happiness and feelings. FE wants everybody to be happy, but also wants to the extent that it's active, it wants to manage social positioning things and make sure that you perceive me as I want to be perceived and all that kind of stuff. Or or with your teammates in the world as well. It sees the world in, like INFJ see the world as in terms of circles of people of various closeness to them that provide varying degrees of utility to them. That's because that's FE combined with NI, where they're saying, I'm rendering these people as objects in a system, but I'm not TE. I'm not saying, and now I'm looking to their utility for me in terms of their day-to-day activity. I'm instead FE, so I'm saying I'm looking to their utility to me in terms of our relational importance and their respective importance to each other and other third parties. So, I think that it's best understood if we, instead of focusing so much on the introversion extroversion part, to the extent that the introversion extroversion part is relevant, it's because extroversion, action is extroversion, interface requires extroversion as part of it. There's kind of an inside part to the FE as well, which manifests through TI, which goes, oh, I wonder if they're mad at me. And you're thinking about it all yourself. You're thinking about FE concerns. You are attending to matters of extroverted feeling. You're using FE, but the reality is, of course, you're not extroverting it, because the TE and FE are not all extroverted. They are interface functions. Put, get, receive. It just seems to be the most correct way to look at it. And then NE and SE, the reason I say they're action functions is because it's doing shit rather than interfacing. You're not receiving or getting information. You're not putting information and going back and forth with the thing. You're just like, well, here's 50 ideas in my head all of a sudden.
Oh, but I think SE is kind of an interface function as well. Like, I guess a good example of SE is, I don't know, whoever that guy was that used to, he got stung by, what was I think it was a ray. Is that what he got stung by? But it was this Australian guy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He used to be on TV, and he used to always be like, "Oh, look at that! No, look at that! And look at that!" That to me is SE. That's bringing the group into the experience of seeing things and experiencing things.
Okay, there's no doubt, John. There's absolutely no doubt that SE is a way of interfacing with the world, but the difference is, it's like saying, if you have effects on, if you use a program like Adobe Audition, which is an audio program, you can put effects on the tracks, on the different tracks in the multi-track, and you can hear them and be playing with, and then turn them off and turn them on and turn them on, like that, right? Or you can print them to the track. So then now you no longer have an effect running, it's just printed to the track. Well, you can start to run a certain number of effects, all running them all, but it starts to slow shit down because, it's a lot of processor power after a while. So the moral of the story is, at some point you got to print it, right? SE is printing it. SE is saying, okay, you've got all your plans in your head now. You've got You know, either you know what your feelings are and you know how to get them to be, or you know what your how others are going to react to it and how they're going to feel about it, and you have a good idea as to why you want to do something, and now all you got to do is do it. Well, the thing is, once you've decided those are definitely the effects that I'm going to use, you should print it, right? You should use your SE then to print it. If it's not printed in the real world, then it doesn't really have much impact in your life. But it's a distinct manner of attention, this printing process, right? So we've got put, get, receive. It's all in this conditionality world in FE. In TE, it's put, get, receive is like, okay, well let me measure this. Okay, now let me drill this hole. Now the world has changed. Now there's a hole in the board where there didn't used to be a hole in the board. I can't undo it. It's not conditionality, but that's my sort of putting. I put that. I see now there's getting the information. There's a hole in the board. I'm receiving it. I mean, if I'm getting information, I might do something like look up on the internet how to fix the refrigerator or something. That's TE getting. Or I might, if I'm like a high class business executive or something, maybe I'd look up how to make conferences and boardrooms more efficient or whatever. That would be getting information with TE. The point being that those interface functions are ways of doing shit, sure, in the world. That's true. But they're gathering, deciding information. Now, TE has a closer relationship, in some sense, to SE than anything else because to put information with TE is the same thing as to do the SE thing, and getting is simply assessing the new set of circumstances. So it's like doing conditionality problems one at a time and going, okay, if A, then B. Okay, A. Now let's look here. Okay, we got A. So, okay, oh, then B. Okay, that's finished now. We can't go back and get rid of it. We have to keep going forward. It's like that kind of thing. So, yeah, SE is in the mix for everything. Nothing gets printed without some SE. Everybody engages in some form of SE, even if it's just ideating out loud to other people like we're doing right now. We're still printing something. However, what we're printing is something that's so non-physical that its only connection to physicality is the little bits of money that I get periodically from Google. Basically, that is its only connection to the physical world, as far as I can tell.
Now I wonder if, one of my goals I've had for a long time is, logic and what you've learned doesn't make any sense. It has no use if you can't explain to other people. To the extent where I tend not to value a lot of my ideas unless I feel like I can even explain them. And that's one thing that I've wondered with regard to TI versus TE. That's a very TE sentiment. The idea that a system of logical thought has no, why even bother with it if it can't be applied.
Okay, well, let me approach that from two angles. You just said basically that you have this perception that a set of ideas is of no value unless it can be explained successfully to others. Well,
this is going to my own analysis of my own type, like trying to figure out if I'm TI or TE.
Oh well, but that's what that is two things. It's one, a TI understanding that if you can't explain it successfully, you don't really understand it, because to be able to explain it successfully means to parse it out in a TI sense. It doesn't necessarily mean to actually explain it to another person. To the extent that you actually want to explain it to another person, you think it has value because it is therefore of service to some other person, then that's FE. Now, the extent that you successfully achieve your goal of FE by explaining it well, that's in a way that is both FE gratifying, in other words, listen to this clever idea I have explained well, and in a way that is TI satisfactory, in other words, it just withstands TI scrutiny and doesn't produce contradictions, then for the ENTP, that's good FI. That's as good a FI as we're going to get. We're going to be like, I'm perceived as competent. What we need to remember, as Nick's pointed out to me before, is that basically others' perceptions of you can be broken into two broad categories of warmth and competence, and that if you want to be truly successful in life, it is inadequate to do well in one of those categories in terms of others' perceptions of you. It's important to be perceived as both warm and competent, or else you simply won't maximize your potential in life.
That's a good point. I think a lot of times I err on the side of warmth just because I feel like it's incredibly easy for me to err in the other direction and come off as competent, but maybe a bit of an asshole. So I kind of overcompensated the other direction.
Err on the side of warmth. Err on the side of kindness. Err on the side of juicy goodness and moisture. Yeah, err on the side of warmth. And you'll never be united with the dark forces of evil you left behind. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People. I've been host Eric. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.